Hey, this is Dawn Reedy, health coach to law enforcement, fire, and EMS professionals. And today we are going to continue our conversations on sugar and share with you some alternatives to really help with reducing your refined sugar intake. We all know that refined sugar intake causes disease, causes illness, feeds cancers, and really is just not good for your health overall. Excessive weight gain, heart issues, the whole shebang. So many of us are addicted to sugars. Sometimes it's a late night shift and you just want to grab a Snicker bar so that you can stay awake, or maybe you're in dispatch and you just kind of pour some sugar into your coffee just so you can stay awake during your calls, right? And alert. And others might have a candy bowl at their desk that is really meant for other people, but they somehow seem to be taking. So today, we're going to share with you really some alternatives that those in fire, EMS, law enforcement can use to incorporate still that sweetness that you might be craving, but really get off all of the negative impact that refined sugar has for you. So I have a couple of tools here to show you and alternatives here to show you today. I want to make sure that you have something to walk away with. So the first thing is coconut sugar. So this is created by by heating the sap of the coconuts. But unlike refined sugar, it does not destabilize your energy levels. So you don't have this up and down disruption happening with your glucose. So there's coconut sugar. I actually have what's called coconut manna right here. And it's kind of this it smells great. It's kind of this spread that you put on top of maybe your sourdough toast, or maybe you put it right on top of, a Buddha bowl or something. It's organic coconut manna, and you can throw some right in your smoothie, and it's going to give you healthy fats and a little bit of sweetness without all of the junk that refined sugar is going to give to you. All right. So here's one example: coconut manna or coconut sugar. And manna just means that it's the meat of the actual coconut itself, right? So it's a little thicker than coconut oil. Coconut manna is the meat. So it's kind of a spread that you would use, or a scoop in your protein shakes, or whatever you might want to use it for. Sometimes I just take a little half a teaspoon of it and munch it just like that. It's delicious. The second one I wanted to, well, actually, I do have some coconut sugar here. So this is what coconut sugar can look like, right? And you can notice that it's a little bit darker than regular unrefined sugar. So coconut or regular refined sugar. Now, what's the difference between refined and unrefined? Refined means that it's chemically processed to extract something. So refined sugar is your white table sugar, right? So they've taken out all the nutrients essentially. You want to look for unrefined coconut oil, unrefined coconut, sugar, unrefined. And what that means is, when it's unrefined, it means they didn't do all the refining. That means all of the nutrients are actually in there. So, here's an example of what coconut sugar looks like. So this is just 365 Whole Foods Market organic coconut sugar, unrefined, lower glycemic index than table sugar, ethically and sustainably sourced. And so another great thing about coconut sugar is it actually is a great source of calcium, iron, potassium, and zinc. So coconut sugar can be replaced, for an exact match to regular refined white sugar. So let's say you're making some almond balls, or, some peanut butter balls, or maybe some kind of healthy treat for yourself, and you want it to be a little bit sweet, or maybe you want to put a little bit in your coffee because you like a sweet coffee. This coconut sugar is going to not elevate and de-escalate your glycemic index, your sugar loads, right? So it's not going to destabilize you. It's going to kind of keep you stabilized throughout. Now, again, it's still sugar. So we're not talking, the biggest mistake I see people make is they're like, oh, it's healthy sugar, I can have more. No, that's not true. You want to make sure that you're still understanding sugar is sugar. However, the coconut sugar or coconut manna is really nice because you're actually inserting that calcium, iron, potassium, and zinc into your diet. So you're putting some nutrients in there, and it's also low glycemic index. So that's the first one. Another one, I don't have any here with me right now, but is date sugar, right? So date sugar is made by grounding down that dehydrated dates into these small granular, kind of size granules, right? And so dates, when I was out in Saudi Arabia, that was a staple out there. That was dessert, right? So having dates was dessert. They're very, very sweet, and they actually help you with your digestion, with strengthening your heart and lowering your blood pressure. So sometimes if you're making a protein shake, or you're making some kind of smoothie, you might throw a date in there. I prefer medjool dates, right? So a medjool date, when it's really soft, you can even soak it in water for an hour or two before you put it into your blender. And that date is going to make it very sweet. So that's also my trick, my secret when I make my own almond milk, which is so easy to make. You literally soak almonds and grind them up and squeeze them out with a cheesecloth. That's it. So if you want a little sweetness to your almond milk, right, and not all the junk that is in the grocery stores with your almond milk, you can just go ahead and grab a date or two and throw it right in there. Pit it first, right? A medjool date, pit it first, and then your milk now becomes sweet. So you grind it all up, you put it through the cheesecloth, and off you go. So dates are a natural sweetener. If you crave something sweet, grab a date. Again, dates are still sugar. So even though they aren't the same kind of sugar as refined sugar, they still are sugar. So you don't want to eat 20 of them. You want to keep it to a minimum, right? Another great alternative is honey, and it has tremendous health benefits, right? So it contains lots of vitamins and minerals, which really support your entire body. But unlike refined sugar, honey is also great for your hair. It can make your skin brighter, more radiant, right? It also can be used as a replacement. Now, I'm going to share with you some tips about honey. I have 3 honeys with me today. So I have this honey right here, right? You can see this. Okay. So I have this honey right here. This is pure, unfiltered, grade A honey. And the more local you can get, the better. And I'm going to share with you why. So pure, unfiltered, grade A honey. Look at, this is kind of a liquid. You can see this is a liquid. Not all honeys are liquid. Some of them are solids, and that's okay too. But this is a liquid honey. This is very, very yummy. And it's expensive, right? So a lot of times people will turn to sugar because it's cheap. Well, it's cheap because it's hurting your body, right? So you want to make sure that you're putting good things in your body. And honey has a ton of vitamins and minerals. So here's another kind of honey. It is also raw, local honey. The raw or unrefined, that means it has not been processed. That when an item is processed, chemicals are thrown at it so that it can break something down. You don't want more chemicals in your body. So you want to go with the unrefined everything, right? As best as you can. And with honey, you can actually have it raw. Raw honey is just fine for you. So it's a little bit more solid, right? This one's a little bit more solid. Now, the thing I want to share with you about these 2 honeys right here, right? So we have the regular unrefined honey, and then we have this one that says autumn honey. So honey has a ton of great benefits. Overall, it's nutritious for you, vitamins and minerals, but it also can help with allergies. However, here's the trick. You want to make sure that you're ingesting honey for a couple of months prior to the season where you get the most amount of allergies, right? So if I get, it's springtime, if I get spring allergies and I start taking honey right now, chances are it's not going to really help my allergies because it didn't have time to progress in my system. It's still good for me, so over refined sugar. So I'm going to go ahead and still have that honey. But what I did here is I bought raw honey that's also local that says autumn. So this honey was taken from the flowers last autumn and turned into honey. Now is the time in June, July, and August, right, to have this in my tea, this autumn honey in my tea, because, or even on a spoonful, right, or even sprinkled over some yummy dessert you have, right? Because those 3 months are really going to give my body the ability to adapt to provide, have kind of these antibodies in a sense against the upcoming fall allergies that are going to occur pretty soon, right? So this is the one that I'm going to eat in the summertime because I'm preparing my body for the fall. So what I like to do is I like to go to honey shops in my local area, because if you're getting a honey, I'm in New Hampshire, if I'm buying honey out of, let's say, California, they have different flowers out there. They have different allergens out there. I want the ones that are here in New Hampshire in my backyard so that I can best deal with them. So if you don't have access to autumn honey or spring honey, that's okay. Go for the raw, unfiltered. That's your best bet. That last tip about autumn and spring was just a little bit extra, but overall honey is a great replacer for sugar. And it really tastes super yummy. It's healthy as an actual replacement. You can make different breads out of it. You can make, I put some over, you can make it like a dressing if you want with a little bit of honey. Again, don't overdo it. It's still a sugar. Okay, now we're going to go on to another one. So we had our coconut sugar, we have our honey. Now we're going to go on to maple syrup. Maple syrup contains around half the calories of refined sugar and is a much more nutritious choice. And I'm not talking about that, $1.99 maple syrup that you find in the grocery store. I'm talking about real maple syrup, okay? The real tapped from the trees maple syrup. It's loaded with antioxidants. It protects your body from and your cells from damage, and it reduces visible signs of aging, right? So it can protect against skin blemishes, dry skin, redness, and maple syrup has been shown to really protect against a range of chronic ailments, including arthritis, cancer, diabetes, inflammatory bowel disease, and heart disease. So maple syrup is a beautiful alternative to refined sugar. Now you could try it in your coffee with a little bit of Ceylon cinnamon on top. It's going to boost your immunity, right? Or another great way that I love having maple syrup and incorporating it into my diet is through golden milk, right? So I might take some almond milk that you can buy in a store. Make sure it doesn't have a lot of junk in it, right? There's maybe one or two out there that are made of like only almonds, right? Organic if possible. And so you heat up some beautiful almond milk, right? And then you add a little bit of turmeric to it. Now you want to make sure you get the turmeric that has pepper in it, because black pepper is actually going to make your turmeric work a little bit better. So if your turmeric does not have black pepper in it, then in this little medley of almond milk, it's super easy. Warm up almond milk, a tablespoon of maple syrup, and maybe a half a tablespoon to half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of turmeric and a sprinkle of pepper. You warm them up over the kitchen stovetop. You are boosting your body with immune support, anti-inflammatory agents, and it is delicious. Okay. So for those of you who have arthritis, those of you who have, creakiness, those of you who just like everything's tight, anything that can be incorporated into your diet that's anti-inflammatory is helpful. And so honey is anti-inflammatory, and so is turmeric. Okay. So maple syrup, that's a great one, but make sure it's the real deal. You don't need a lot. And that's the difference that you're going to find. With regular sugar, you're eating donut or donuts, right? But with maple syrup and honey and coconut manna, you're really only having small amounts, and it's enough. And it's what really fuels your body. Another kind of honey that I love is honey that infuses different mushrooms. So this is a Chaga honey, and this is beautiful for fighting inflammation. So Chaga honey is beautiful. It's an adaptogenic. So what's an adaptogenic? That means when you have something in your body that's off, maybe your hormone levels, your metabolism, whatever it is, that's a little bit off, adaptogens, which need to be taken consistently every single day. They don't work like one shot deal, consistently every day. Adaptogens will help your body do just that. Adapt. So if you're too low, it'll make you higher. If you're too high, it'll make you lower. In whatever field, right? So in immunity, in hormonal balances, cortisol levels, that kind of thing. So what I love about this myco honey, they call it, it's organic raw honey organic chaga mushroom extract. It's gluten-free, and this is 1 teaspoon is the size, and it's great at lowering cholesterol and fighting inflammation. So now when you have something, and I'll show you what this looks like in here, it's dark. It's really a dark honey, organic, gluten-free. Okay. So, and this is hard honey. So you kind of have to scoop it out, and it's hard, right? So when you have something like that, chaga and honey, it does change the flavor a little bit. So you might need to get used to that flavor, but it is so good for you, and it still brings some sweetness to your teas and so forth. Okay. All right, so the last one I'm going to show you today is monk fruit, right? So I'm going to show you this monk fruit sweetener. So monk fruit is extremely sweet, okay? It is extremely sweet. This one is monk fruit vanilla, all right? And so the benefit of monk fruit is there's so many. First of all, there's no calories in monk fruit. So it's helping you sustain. For those of you on low carb diets, this is going to help you have that low carb. Your sugars are not going to increase your carbs, right? So it's also going to help with that fluctuation as well. You're not going to go up and down. And what I like about this, right, is that it's a dropper. So you put 1, 2 drops, right, in your tea, in your coffee, whatever it might be, and it sweetens it right up. Okay, so this one says add to any beverage or food and enjoy the endless possibilities. So you shake it really well, and then you go ahead and you add a drop or 2 to your coffee or tea, whatever you might like. And sometimes I get some on my fingers and I lick it, and it's so sweet. Like, you really don't need much at all. Some folks, let's talk about stevia for a second. It is a different form of sugar, but stevia often gives this kind of funky aftertaste. And so I'm not a particular fan of it. However, if you're using it instead of refined sugar, I'm okay with that. So my hope for you today is really getting an understanding on different sugars that you can incorporate into your life if you choose to have sugar in your life, right? Let's start there. If you choose to have sugar in your life, how can you incorporate sugars that are also going to help support your immune system, that are not going to have a high glycemic index, that are not having that high sugar or carb load? How can you build in and use the nutrients that Mother Nature gave us versus that refined sugar? And when you have these, again, you're going to be satiated, just a little bit. It might take you some time to get off of, regular sugar, the table sugar that you might be accustomed to. But once you get off of it, you're not going to need as much of this kind of sugar to really satiate you, to really just have just enough sweetness. I've seen so many people say, Dawn, organic and all these sugars, they cost so much money. And, the thing is they do, but you don't use as much as you do with sugar. Regular sugar, you're kind of like pouring it in, you're eating your Snicker bar. Well, guess what happens after you eat your Snicker bar? You want another one. Within a half hour, you're starving again because of that jack up in your glycemic index. And, the load is just too much for your body. Your body was not meant for that. So you crave more, and it's cheap, right? And you crave it and you want it. So you go and you grab it. And so you're not going to run into the same thing. When you start incorporating these things into your world, this is that coconut manna. I know that it's backwards. When you start incorporating these things into your world, you're able to have some of the sweetness that you desire, right? But without all of the calories, without all of the junk that regular sugar puts in. Now, honey and maple syrup, like, those are high in sugars and high in calories. So a little bit goes a long way. So today we really dissected some of the sugar alternatives that are very easy, very easy. You could simply carry one of those sugar sticks along your ride. If you're an officer and you're in a vehicle and you're in love with Dunk's coffee or Starbucks or whatever it is, get it black or get it without all the cream and sugar in it, and carry one of those little honey sticks with you that you can get a healthy one, not the junky ones that kids like, right? A healthy honey stick. Or if you need something a little bit easy like this, you can throw this in your cruiser or in your lunchbox or whatever it might be, right? I will say, with the hard honey, right? If you put it in iced coffee, it'll kind of stay at the top. So you want to maybe grab some boiling coffee or boiling water and loosen it up first, and then pour it in the iced coffee. But there are alternatives, and you don't have to be addicted to sugar. You don't have to be fueling illness and sickness in your body. You don't have to be doing that. You could be using sugars in a healthy way. You could be getting that sweetness that you're looking for and doing it in a healthy way that serves both your sweet tooth and what your body needs, reducing inflammation. Incorporating in autophagy, like repurposing, in a sense, your cells and so forth. So if you need more on this, you can reach out to me, Dawn Reby, anytime. We have health coaching for law enforcement professionals who are really looking to turn around their lives and create a life by design. And so health coaching and life coaching is part of this package that we offer that really individualizes your health, your stress levels, your nutrition, and makes it so that you are maximized in each of those areas.